Welcome to the We and Goliath podcast. My name is Michelle Garrison, and I'm here with Dr. Rick Moss today. Rick Moss is the developer of Awakening Greatness, previously known as precognitive re-education. Rick developed his work after teaching meditation for 20 years, and he realized that through this process that meditation alone does not change the deeper subconscious patterns by itself. So he's really enriched and distilled down this information into a new book that he's writing called Wisdom, Deepening Spiritual and Psychological Truths. Now, Rick is a personal mentor of mine, so I'm especially excited to have him on the show today. He's been working with me and my partner over the last 4 or 5 years now, and has brought tremendous results to our relationship and to my life, deepening the levels of communication that I can have with my partner and with the world around me. And I've gone through some pretty intense things in my life, and so it was neat to talk with him about some of the previous abusive relationships that I've been in, and his intuitive ability to really dig deep into the patterns that I've had and help to peel away those layers through our sessions has really enriched my life, my experience, and so that's why I'm especially excited to have him on today. The first chapter of his book is a really juicy one. It's called Great Love. And in a moment, I'm going to have him expound upon that, because great love is such an intense and powerful thing for us to experience and realize in our lives. Rick, will you start us off and just explain to us, what is great love to you?
First of all, hi, Michelle. Thank you for having me on. I'm really glad to be here. So I would say great love, and why I started the book with great love, is really the central energy of creation. It exists in fullness within us and without us. It is the God energy. It is the life force. It's what pulls people and things together. It is like the ultimate gravity of the universe. And the incredible thing about great love is it exists within us in its fullness. It's not that we have to develop it. It's just that we have to uncover it. It's sort of like the sun on a cloudy day. You know it's there, but you can't see it. This great love gets obscured by the ego. And in its place, it puts egoic love, which is all about which is all about what gives me pleasure, which is all about what I can take. While great love is unconditional, it's overflowing, it's about giving, it's just the opposite. So great love being the core energy, it's the healing energy, it's fulfillment, it's joyfulness. And to uncover it is really the work of a lifetime. And if we don't uncover it, we get left with the ego's version of love, which is shallow, which gets obscured by our needs, our demands, our history, our wounds from childhood. And the ego can have a wonderful experience. We can call it romantic love. It can be the highest experience of the ego's existence, but it can't love. It can't love forever. It's just a temporary phenomena, basically created by brain chemistry, that gives us this feeling that our partner is going to fulfill all our needs forever, but it doesn't happen that way. That brain chemistry starts to fade, and we start to see in that perfect being of our partner, our girlfriend, our boyfriend, our spouse, problems and patterns, because these kind of egoic relationships are repetitive. They go back to childhood patterns and they repeat, something I'll talk about at another time. As a result, this romantic love, though wonderful, is not sustainable. What we want to be doing is developing great love to supplement romantic love, to supplement the ego's appreciation, the ego's experience of what can I get with what can I give, which is what great love brings. It's all about unfolding, overflowing. It's all about giving. And when we give, the spiritual law of giving says what we give, we get. We give love and we get love through the process of giving. This is the great love. This is the power. And this is what we want to start to develop in our lives.
So I'm curious, how can we tell the difference between our egoic love and our great love? Is there a feeling that we can that can help us identify those?
You know, Buddha once said, the difference between egoic love and what we're calling great love is you walk down the street, you see a flower, it's pretty and you pick it. Versus great love, you walk down the street, you see a flower and you water it. We pick the flower. Oh, I want it. It gives me pleasure. I can give it to someone and be important. Great love is this overflow of the desire to give, to nurture, to support, to protect. And we don't need anything back for it. It's just the joy of giving it.
Nice. So a selfless feeling would be great love.
Selfless, and of course, it's coming from the self. So it's both. It's coming from the capital S self, because the ego doesn't create this love. I believe that it comes from a divine source. I believe the ego has no ability to manufacture great love. It's not manufactured, as someone once said, it's God-you-factured.
Cute. Yeah. So this brings up something that I read in your first chapter, which was really, really interesting. And it's something that we've used, or I've used in my relationship with my partner in order to sort of take assessment. And you had talked about the 5 A's.
Yes.
Can you go into that a little bit deeper? Like, is this a good way of assessing our great love versus our more egoic love?
Yeah, I think we have to thank David Rico for that in his book, How to Be an Adult in Relationship. I think he just does a beautiful job of bringing our attention to the possibility that the 5 A's, attention, acceptance, affection, appreciation, and allowing, are these 5 qualities that, when they are all present, constitute what we would call unconditional love. When you're giving someone all your attention and you don't need them to attention you, when you accept them for who they are in that moment and appreciate the goodness within them, and you feel this flow of warmth, of affection, and you allow them to be who they are and give them the freedom to support and explore their inherent needs, then unconditional love can be seen. Now, if you just have one of those, if you have this craving for attention, you can imagine how that person who just craves for one of the A's creates a very terrible imbalance in their lives. They're attention getters. Or if they crave acceptance, they'll do anything for acceptance. They've lost their center. They sell out. If it's appreciation, well, they say in Hollywood, you're only as good as your last movie. You're never going to get the appreciation that you need because you never know if you're going to get it in the next moment. It can never fulfill you. But when all of these are there together, there is this experience of giving, the 5 A's, of just holding someone in this cherished light of love. And when you allow yourself to receive them, because not everyone is ready to allow themselves to be loved, it brings up a lot of unconscious fears of being controlled, of being demanded of being used. That work has to be done unconsciously. We have to start cleaning out those limitations, those tapes from the past. And that's very much about what my work is focused on, is doing this work of cleaning house so that one can accept love and can give it by cleaning out those patterns.
Nice. Nice. I know we've used the 5 A's in our relationship sometimes to just take inventory of, where are we at on each one of these levels, and sort of doing a check-in on that is really powerful in a couple relationship. But as you're talking about great love, I feel like I could use this. Like we could actually use these 5 A's in relation to how we're experiencing the world and interacting with others.
Yeah, very nice. Absolutely. And another thing that you can use the 5 A's for, again, this is one thing that Rico says in his book that I liked a lot, is part of a good relationship is the willingness and the ability to ask for what you want and need. And so the idea of using the 5 A's to go to your partner and say to your partner, I really feel like I need undivided attention, or I really feel like I need affection right now, or I need your appreciation, I'm not feeling secure. This asking for and the agreement of the partner to try their best to supply that A that person needs. It's a very sweet and connective and intimate process.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've experienced that myself. And sometimes we get hung up on one of the A's. We might not be as good at giving somebody attention or affection. And so when we're experiencing that, is that something that is coming up from our childhood experiences, or is it stemming from something else?
Most of the time it comes back to childhood. In one of the later chapters called The Wounded Child Within, we'll go into depth in analyzing what happens in utero and then the first 7 years of life, and why they are so impactful in creating the dominant patterns of our lives, and why they set for us an unconscious idea of what love is, that until we change that illusion, we go and we seek it even if it was abusive. So it's important to find those patterns and clean them out. And it's unconditional love. It's the God energy that does the cleaning. That's the mainstay of the inner child process that I do, is finding a way to direct that God energy right to where the distortion is, to give that child the love that it never received, so that it can grow and mature instead of being fixated in fear or judgment.
That's beautiful. I know that's when I call you, is when we're on one of those triggers, or we're not quite able to delve deeper into affection, for example, and I've found that you're just so able to go right in there and pinpoint that thing that's going on with me. And maybe it was something that happened in my childhood or something I'm holding on to. Can you elaborate on that? Like how do you do that? How are you so able to find that?
I'll tell you the story of it. It's undoubtedly the greatest gift I've ever been given in my life, is this ability. It started with candida and food allergies, and I was constantly being muscle tested to find out what I could or could not eat. And that's a process where you put your arm out and someone pushes down on it, and if it goes down easily, that's a no. If it stays up, it's a yes. And I could find out what I could eat or not eat. That was helpful. But my wife at the time was not around, and it was lunchtime, and I said, God, there must be some way I can test myself. And suddenly my neck went vigorously up and down. So I thought, oh, well, this is wonderful. Now I have food allergies, candida, and a tick. But that wasn't what happened. I got given in that moment this great gift of being able to ask a question and get a yes or no response within my body.
Wow.
My neck goes up and down for yes, sideways for no, and that was over 35 years ago. And as I use it more and more, either the answer just comes, I'll know it instantly, or I still use the yes, no to get answers, or if I'm tracking. For example, you say, okay, you said affection. So I would say, all right, so Michelle says she's feeling threatened or pulled back by affection. Is this something that happened in a relationship with her mother? And I'd get a yes. Or is it her father? I'd get a yes or a no. Is it something else? Is it her energy? Or maybe she's holding someone else's energy within her body, called carried emotion. Does that need to be cleared? Or is it empathic resonance, where she has a particular issue that's in alignment with a parent, and so she gets more of it because she pulls in the parent's energy? So being able to know what questions to ask and then getting a yes or no that takes me exactly to where the problem is, and then being able to ask guidance. How can we use visualization to undo that delusion from the past that's stuck in the mind, and getting a specific visualization to use to do it? And visualizations are so important because the subconscious isn't good at telling the difference between real and imagined. So we can use visualization to undo this delusion that exists from the past that now covers over your ability in the present moment to receive love. And we can find that inner child moment from the past and give it what it needs in the present, because underlying this, there is no time sense in the unconscious. Everything is now. Well, that's just so important. When people are told, oh, hey, that happened to you 40 years ago, get over it. Sorry, that's not how the equipment works. There is no past. Everything is now. So if you felt unloved at 7, it isn't stored in your body mind as I wasn't lovable. It's stored as I am not lovable. And that's why it's so dangerous to you in the present moment. On the positive side, we can give that memory. We can inject it with the love that it wanted, and now it has it because it exists in the present moment. And then it changes, it blossoms, it grows up, and lo and behold, that bubble of memory is gone. Doesn't mean there aren't other bubbles of memory. If there were a lot of incidences in childhood, there are other bubbles that need to be popped, that need love. But you're on the right track. You're undoing the past and you're becoming more present.
Wow. So is this something that, and maybe this is a topic for another session, but is this something that we can learn?
Yes, absolutely. I believe that everyone has the potentiality to be able to ask this question within themselves. And I use the motto, if you want to see what your unconscious wants, look at your life now. Because the unconscious is 98% of our mental equipment. It's way more powerful than our conscious mind. Conscious mind holds maybe 7 bits of information per second, and the unconscious processes about 1 million. So it's so tremendously powerful. To overlook the unconscious is to overlook how the under part of a car works and thinks it all works by turning the wheel. It's ludicrous.
Huh. So coming back to this great love, are we going to need to pop all of those bubbles in order to experience great love? Like, how much work do we have to do here?
Well, I think it's very possible in one session. I probably have done over 25,000 sessions by now. And I would say in most of those sessions, my clients have experienced a taste of great love. If they're particularly wounded, and I'm thinking of maybe 5 or 10 clients, it took them a lot longer, but we got there. And you don't have to pop all the bubbles. I think, and this is another one of the chapters that's in the book on enlightenment, I think that we're working towards a form of enlightenment wherein we stop identifying ourselves as our ego and identify ourselves as our higher self. So we still see the ego has challenges and problems, but they're not ours anymore. Oh, I see, yes, some part of me is in resistance to that. I'm noticing that, and I'm not letting it run the show. That's what that would look like, to not let a pattern run one's life. But I think a repetition of the healing work is very important, like building a muscle. I think we want to pop a lot of those bubbles, and after a while you can work them, nexus them together and pop a whole number of them at once. So it gets faster and faster, I think, as you go.
Okay. Okay. So and would you say that you had mentioned that our subconscious mind is, what was it, 95%?
So people are guessing. So it's
Around there.
95 to 98%, right,
Okay.
of the equipment.
So would you say that we start paying attention more to our conscious mind and our unconscious mind starts falling to the
Into
back a
line.
bit more?
Yeah, to
Okay.
support that more and more. Yeah.
Nice. Well, this is fascinating to me, and I'm curious, would you be open to leading us through one of your inner child healing processes today
Oh,
to
sure. I'd be
help
glad
us
to.
pop some bubbles?
Let's pop some bubbles.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, I'd like to start with an opening. And in the little prayer that I start with, I use the word God. If someone doesn't believe or like that word, please substitute love or spirit, whatever. To me, it's really all the same. So I'll start with a little prayer. All healing we do in the name of great love. We give thanks for this opportunity to release the binding influence of the past. We call on God and invite the presence of love itself to facilitate this healing for all listening. So be it. The most common tape or limiting belief that I've encountered is the idea that I'm not enough. I think that every child, no matter how wonderful the parents were, had times where they felt hurt by the parents' activity or that they weren't there when they needed them. And the child mind up till 7 is narcissistic, which means that everything that happens to the child thinks is about her or him. So when something happens, the child knows instinctively, because of the functioning of its mind, that it's its fault, that it's not enough. So I'm going to ask anyone listening who wants to participate to feel into that feeling within themselves. I'm not enough. And let that feeling come to the surface. The ego fights that in many of us, tries to suppress it, push it back into the unconscious. But let it come. The power of attention, which I think is another aspect of the divine, is healing. Attention itself is healing. And lack of attention is not healing. Suppression, avoidance, no healing gets done. So there is this feeling that's coming up. Maybe it's sadness, maybe it's grief, maybe it's anger. I'd like you to imagine that that's a little boy or a girl, about 6 years of age, maybe sitting on his or her bed alone in a room, feeling that feeling. I'd like you to imagine you're not in the room. You're outside of the room. And outside of the room, you are your best self. Well, how do you get in touch with your best self? The easiest way is to think, when do you feel the most kindness, care, love? Could be with a child who's asleep. It could be with a partner. It could be with a dog or a cat. It could even be with a tree. Find that feeling in you of that great love that exists in the best self, to whatever extent you can find it. Feel it. Your best self is that part of you that extends this great love, this kindness, this care. Sometimes just the word love is so scary to people they can't even think of it as love. Just think of it as kindness and care then. Ask yourself, could I intentionally harm that person, that cat, that dog, that tree, that flower? And I think the answer will be no. It would be impossible to feel that love and intentionally harm. Now, pivot in a way that you send that energy to that little 6-year-old. Go into the room with the 6-year-old and tell him or her, I have come to be with you. I have come to bring you this care, this kindness, this love. That's my job, because I am you grown up. It was never the person who's playing the role in this lifetime of your mother or father. It was never their job to give it to you 24/7. They couldn't. They might not have been able to do it at all. But I can, you tell the child, and I will. That's why I'm here. Ask if you can sit down next to the child. And as you do, just extend that kindness, that care, that sweetness. Some children want to rush into your arms and be held. Others will sit next to you. Others are cautious. These are the kind of things that get revealed in an individual session. I would say, invite the child to sit next to you and see if the child wants to hold your hand or have your arm around you. if not, give them the 5A of acceptance. They can do whatever they want. And tell them in light of that, you have the right to feel whatever you feel and still be loved. If you're sad, you have the right to be sad. If you're angry, you have the right to be angry. And I will stay here and protect you and love you always. Now, for the sake of brevity, because we're doing just a sample here, imagine that you spend a day with a child, giving the child that love. Imagine how they receive it. Feel it. And now imagine a week and a month and a year of loving the child in this way. And of course, we're speeding this up. Individually, we'd go at the pace that fits you. But at the end of the year, if you can, feel into that child and see if that child is starting to be more secure, happier, stronger. Now give them this love. The way you do it is you feel that love. It's the love that's doing the healing. It's important that you feel it. And now you imagine giving it to them for another year. Subconscious can't tell the difference between real and imagined. And now look to see how they are. Not how you were when you were 8, but how is this child? This child is a different facet of the diamond of yourself. It's going to grow up differently than you, marry different people, have different children. Doesn't mean that what you did isn't perfect for your healing and growth. Let this child evolve and grow as she or he will. Imagine them at 10 and 12. Keep loving them at 15, at 18, at 20. And yes, I'm speeding this process up. Now imagine them grown. Let's say mature at 30. Look and see what this child is like, grown up with protection and care and love. Most people would say words like self-assured, stable, loving, kind, successful, connected, able to be intimate. And my response to you will be that this is your best self. It lives within you in its fullness, just like great love. It gets obscured by the patterns and the hurts of the past. But every time you clear away a blockage, there is the sun of your best self shining through. There you are without your stuff. The stuff is temporary. Your greatness is eternal. All this work is really answering the question, who am I really? I know who I think I am, but that's not who I am. Who is my greater self? And great love is instrumental in taking us to the experience of answering that question with total assurance. And so we ask that this healing be integrated through all time, space, dimensions, and interdimensions, throughout the hologram of life and existence. And so it is.
It feels so good.
Excellent. Came out well. I enjoyed it as it was coming out. You know, I don't have the feeling I'm doing it. I'm just sort of allowing it to get expressed. So I sort of watch it come out and went, oh yeah, I sort of like that.
You let your great love flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it feels lovely to catch a glimpse of that feeling that you're talking about. And I feel honored to have you on the call today.
Thank you.
So make sure to check out Rick's new book that's going to be coming out, Wisdom, Deepening Spiritual and Psychological Truths. You can get more clearings on his website, essentialpathways.com, and you'll be hearing more from us.
Thank you, Michelle. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye.